The medical bay was cold and sterile. Jiho sat outside the examination room, his head resting against the wall. Every muscle in his body ached. Yuna had fallen asleep on his shoulder, and Taeyang was sprawled in a chair across from them, snoring softly. The door opened and Dr. Somin stepped out. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. She had been studying alien biology for 10 years and was the best xenomedical surgeon in the coalition. "He's stable," she said, looking at Jiho. "But the spinal damage is severe. His people were right about one thing. He won't walk again, not without serious intervention." Jiho sat up straighter, waking Yuna in the process. "What kind of intervention?" Dr. Somin pulled up a holographic display. It showed Velmore's spine, with a bright red section in the middle. The injury severed his central neural cord. For Thalorians, that's even worse than it would be for humans. Their nervous system doesn't have the same redundancy ours does, but, Jiho leaned forward. "I've been working on something. An experimental neural interface. It uses human technology to bridge damaged nerve pathways. We've tested it on humans with spinal injuries. It works about 60% of the time." "Has it been tested on Thalorians?" Yuna asked. "No. You brought me the first paralyzed Thalorian who's still alive long enough to treat." The door at the end of the hallway burst open. General Hyun strode in, his face hard. Behind him were 3 Thalorian warriors, the largest being War Chief Thexal. The Thalorians looked furious. "Captain Jiho," General Hyun said. His voice was calm, but Jiho could hear the warning in it. "Explain why you disobeyed direct orders to evacuate." Jiho stood at attention. "Sir, I couldn't leave a wounded soldier behind." "That wounded soldier was not your responsibility," Thexal growled. His voice was deep and rumbling like rocks grinding together. "Commander Velmore made his choice. You had no right to interfere." "With respect, sir, he didn't have a choice. He was paralyzed and left to die. Death with honor is the Thalorian way." Thexal stepped closer to Jiho. The war chief was massive, nearly 9 feet tall. "You have shamed him. You have denied him a warrior's death. This is a grave insult to our people." General Hyun held up his hand. "War chief, please. Let's discuss this calmly." "There is nothing to discuss." Thexal pointed at the examination room. "You will return Commander Velmore to the battlefield. He will face the enemy and die as he should have died." "He's injured," Dr. Somin said firmly. "I won't release a patient to be killed." "It is not your decision, human." "Actually, it is." General Hyun's voice went hard. "In this medical facility, Dr. Somin has final authority over her patients. Velmore stays here until she says otherwise." The tension in the hallway was thick enough to cut. The Thalorians looked ready to fight. Jiho's hand moved to his sidearm, not to draw it, but just to know it was there. "This is unacceptable," Thexal said. "The Thalorian delegation will not stand for this insult. We demand—" "You demand?" A weak voice came from the examination room. Everyone turned. Velmore had somehow managed to activate the door controls. He lay on the medical bed, visible through the open doorway. His face was pale, but his eyes were clear. "When did you become my voice, Thexal?" "Commander, you should rest," Dr. Somin started. "No." Velmore's voice was stronger now. "War Chief Thexal, you speak of honor and tradition, but where were you when I fell? Where were you when I lay in the canyon waiting for death?" Thexal's jaw tightened. "We gave you what you deserved. A warrior's end. You gave me nothing. You left me. This human, this stranger, he stayed. He risked his life for mine. He and his friends carried me through enemy territory when my own people walked away." Velmore paused. "Tell me, War Chief, where is the honor in that?" The hallway went silent. One of the other Thalorians looked uncomfortable. Even Thexal seemed unsure how to respond. "It is our way," Thexal finally said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. "Perhaps our way is wrong." The words hung in the air like a physical thing, a Thalorian, questioning their traditions. Jiho had never heard of such a thing. Thexal's face went dark purple with rage. "You speak blasphemy. The injury has damaged your mind as well as your body." "My mind is clear," Velmore said. "Clearer than it has been in years. These humans have shown me something I never knew existed. Compassion without conditions. Value without strength. They see me as I am now, broken and useless, and they still believe I am worth saving." "You are not worth saving," Thexal shouted. "A Thalorian who cannot fight is already dead." "Then I am dead." Velmore's voice was quiet but firm. "But I am a dead warrior who wants to see what comes next." Dr. Soman, you mentioned a treatment? Dr. Soman nodded. It's experimental. There are risks, but if it works, you could regain some mobility. With mechanical assistance, you might even walk again. I want it. Do the treatment. You cannot. Thexel moved toward the examination room, but General Hyun stepped into his path. This is Velmore's choice to make, the general said, not yours. His choice disgraces all Thalorians. His choice is his own business. Thexal looked at General Hyun, then at Velmore, then back again. His face was a mask of anger and something else. Disappointment, maybe, or grief. If you do this, Thexal said to Velmore, you will no longer be Thalorian. Our people will not acknowledge you. You will be dead to us. Forever. Velmore closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, Jiho saw tears there, but the warrior's voice didn't shake. Then I accept exile. It is a small price for a chance to live. Thexal turned and walked away. The other Thalorians followed him, their footsteps heavy on the metal floor. The door slammed behind them. General Hyun let out a long breath. Well, that went about as badly as it could have. Will there be political consequences, sir? Taeyang asked, almost certainly. The Thalorians are threatening to withdraw from the coalition. The other species are watching to see what we do. General Hyun looked at Jiho. Captain, you've started something that's bigger than one rescue. I hope you understand that. I do, sir. Good. Because now we have to see it through. The general turned to Dr. Samin. How soon can you perform the procedure? I need 3 days to prepare, and I need Velmore's consent again, now that he knows what it will cost him. You have it, Velmore said from the examination room. I have already lost my people. I will not also lose my chance to live. Over the next 3 days, the coalition base was in chaos. The Thalorian delegation held emergency meetings. Other species sent representatives to observe. Everyone had an opinion about what should happen to Velmore. Jiho visited the warrior every day. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in silence. Velmore told him about Thalorian culture, about growing up in a society where strength was everything. Jiho told him about Earth, about human history, about all the ways humans had learned to adapt and survive. We had a leader once, Jiho said on the second day. He couldn't walk, spent most of his life in a wheelchair, but he led our people through the worst war in our history. He was strong in ways that had nothing to do with his legs. What was his name? Franklin Roosevelt. He proved that strength comes in many forms. Velmore was quiet for a while. I wish I had been born human. You see the world so differently. You weren't born human, but maybe you can learn to think like one. Yuna visited too. She brought her tools and started designing something on her portable fabricator. I'm making you a mobility suit, she explained. It'll work with Dr. Soman's neural interface. You won't walk like you did before, but you'll walk. Why do you do this? Velmore asked. You do not know me. I am nothing to you. You're not nothing, Yuna said simply. You're someone who needs help. That's enough. On the third day, Dr. Soman came to prep Velmore for surgery. Jiho was there, standing beside the medical bed. Are you afraid? Jiho asked. Yes, Velmore admitted. I am afraid it will not work. I am afraid I will remain like this forever. But I am more afraid of not trying. That's the spirit, Captain Jiho. Velmore looked at him directly. If I do not survive the surgery, I want you to know something. You saved more than my life. You saved my soul. For the first time, I understand that there is more to existence than fighting and dying. Thank you for that gift. Jiho felt his throat tighten. You're going to survive. And when you do, you're going to show everyone what a warrior really is. They wheeled Velmore into surgery. Jiho waited outside with Yuna and Taeyang. Hours passed. Dr. Somin came out twice to update them. The surgery was complicated. The alien biology was making things difficult. But she was making progress. Finally, after 8 hours, Dr. Somin emerged one last time. She looked exhausted, but she was smiling. It worked, she said. The neural interface took. He's stable. He'll need months of rehabilitation, but the connection is there. Jiho felt relief wash over him like a wave. Yuna hugged him. Taeyang clapped him on the shoulder. Can we see him? Jiho asked. He's sleeping, but yes, when he wakes up. Jiho sat down outside the recovery room. His impossible rescue had succeeded, but he knew this was just the beginning. The hard part, helping Velmore rebuild his life, was still ahead, but they would face it together. That was the human way. He would never fight the way he used to, But he had gained something too. Friends, 4 months had passed since Velmore joined General Hyun's tactical staff. The war against the Krenth had intensified, and Velmore's strategies had saved countless lives. He walked better now, though he still needed the mobility suit. Yuna had improved it 3 times, making it lighter and more responsive. It felt almost natural now, like an extension of his body. Jiho found him in the strategy room late one evening. Velmore was studying a holographic map of Velcor Prime, his fingers moving pieces around like a game. "Still working?" Jiho asked. "The Krenth are massing forces in the Northern Canyon system," Velmore said without looking up. "The same canyons where I fell. They are planning something big." Jiho moved closer to study the map. "How big?" "Big enough to destroy the coalition base if we are not prepared." Velmore highlighted several areas on the map. "They are using the canyon network to hide their numbers. Our scouts cannot get accurate counts. But I know these canyons. I fought there for years. If I am right, they have at least 50,000 soldiers hidden in those rocks. That's 3 times what our intelligence estimates." "Your intelligence is wrong." Trust me on this. Jiho did trust him. Over the past months, Velmore had proven himself again and again. His knowledge of the Krenth and the terrain was unmatched. "What do you suggest?" "We cannot meet them head on. They have the numbers and the defensive position. We need to be clever." Velmore manipulated the map, showing troop movements. "We lure them out, make them think we are retreating. Then we hit them from the sides using the same tunnels I escaped through. We turn their advantage into a trap. That's risky. If they don't take the bait, we'll be exposed. All warfare is risk. But this is our best chance." The door opened and General Hyun entered with 2 other officers. He looked tired. The war was wearing on everyone. "I need good news," the general said. "Tell me you have a plan for those canyon formations." Velmore presented his strategy. The general listened carefully, asking questions, poking holes in the plan. Velmore answered each concern with confidence. By the end, General Hyun was nodding. It could work, but it needs someone who knows those canyons perfectly, someone who can guide the flanking forces through the tunnels without getting lost. "I will do it," Velmore said. The room went quiet. Everyone stared at him. "You want to go back to the battlefield?" Jiho asked. "Velmore, you're a strategic advisor now. You don't have to fight." "I do not intend to fight in the traditional sense, but I know those tunnels better than anyone. I can guide our forces through them. Without me, the plan fails." General Hyun frowned. "You're valuable here. If something happens to you, then you train someone else. But right now, I am the only one who can do this. You need me out there." The general studied Velmore for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right. You'll lead the tunnel teams, but you're taking a full security detail. Captain Jiho, you're going with him." Jiho straightened. "Yes, sir. And Commander Velmore? Don't make me regret this." 3 days later, Velmore stood at the entrance to the same tunnel system that had saved his life months ago. This time he was here by choice. Behind him were 50 coalition soldiers, humans, Vryn, and even a few Kethrans. They all carried heavy equipment for the mission, and behind them were 3 Thalorian warriors. Velmore had been shocked when they appeared. He recognized one of them, Krevoth, the warrior who had left him to die in the canyon, the same warrior who had saluted him and walked away. "Why are you here?" Velmore asked him. Krevoth looked uncomfortable. "We heard you were leading a mission. We heard you planned to fight again. I am exiled. Your people declared me dead. War Chief Thexal declared you dead. Not all of us agreed." Krevoth met his eyes. "I have thought much about that day in the canyon. About honor and duty. About what it means to be a warrior. I think perhaps we were wrong to leave you." "You think?" "I know we were wrong. I was wrong. When I heard the humans saved you, I told myself it was shameful. But then I saw what you became. How you adapted. How you still serve, still fight, just in different ways." Krevoth placed his fist over his heart. "You are more of a warrior now than I ever was. I would be honored to fight beside you again." Velmore felt something tight in his chest. He nodded, not trusting his voice. Jiho approached with Yuna and Taiyang. "Everyone's ready. On your order, Commander." Velmore activated his suit and stepped into the tunnel. The darkness swallowed them, but he knew the way. He had walked these paths in his darkest hour. Now he would walk them in his finest. The journey through the tunnels took 4 hours. Velmore's suit handled the rough terrain better than he expected. Una had added climbing features specifically for this mission. When they reached narrow passages, the Thalorians helped lift him through. When they encountered steep climbs, Jiho was there to support him. They were a team. All of them. Finally, they reached a large cavern near the northern canyon exit. Through the opening, they could see the Krenth forces massing below. Velmore had been right. There were tens of thousands of them, far more than intelligence had estimated. Set up here, Velmore ordered quietly. When the main force engages them from the south, they will turn to fight. That is when we strike from behind. The soldiers positioned themselves. Weapons were checked. Plans were reviewed. Then they waited. The wait felt endless. Velmore watched the Krenth forces through his scope. They were organized, disciplined. The hive mind made them efficient in ways individual soldiers could never be. But it also made them predictable. His radio crackled. All units, this is General Hyun. Beginning the attack now. Through the canyon, Velmore heard the sounds of battle. Explosions. Weapons fire. The Krenth forces began to turn south, moving toward the fight just as he predicted. Wait for it, Velmore said into his radio. Let them commit fully. The Krenth kept moving. More and more of them headed south. Their rear guard grew thinner. Now, Velmore ordered, all units attack! The coalition forces poured out of the tunnel. Surprise was complete. The Krenth rear guard was overwhelmed in seconds. Velmore's suit carried him forward, weapons firing. He couldn't move like he used to, but he could still fight. The suit gave him stability. His mind gave him strategy. Krevoth, take your team left, he ordered. Jiho, right flank. Pincer movement, just like we planned. The battle became chaos. The Krenth tried to turn and face this new threat, but they were caught between two forces. Velmore coordinated the attack from the center. His voice calm and clear despite the violence around him. A Krenth soldier charged at him. In the old days, Velmore would have met the charge head-on. Now he couldn't. His suit wasn't fast enough. But Jiho was there, his rifle cutting down the enemy before it reached Velmore. I've got your back, Jiho shouted. And I have yours. Velmore directed fire support to cover Jiho's position. They fought like that for hours. Velmore calling strategies, the soldiers executing them. The Krenth forces began to break. Their hive mind struggled with the two-front attack. They had expected a simple battle, not this coordinated assault. By sunset, the Krenth were in full retreat. Coalition forces had won a decisive victory. The canyon was littered with destroyed enemy equipment, but the coalition casualties were minimal, thanks to Velmore's strategy. Velmore stood on a ridge overlooking the battlefield. His suit was damaged but still functional. He was exhausted, every muscle in his body screaming, but he was alive. And more than that, he had proven something important. General Hyun's voice came over the radio. Outstanding work, Commander Velmore. You just saved the coalition base. Maybe the whole war effort. Jiho climbed up to join him on the ridge. He was dirty and tired, but grinning. You did it. You showed everyone what you're capable of. We did it, Velmore corrected. All of us together. Krevoth approached with the other Thalorians. They looked different somehow. Less certain. Less proud in the old way. Commander, Krevoth said formally. That was brilliant. I have never seen strategy like that. Thank you. I want to ask you something. There are other injured Thalorian warriors who have been sent away to die because they cannot fight anymore. Could they do what you have done? Velmore understood what Krevoth was really asking. With the right support, yes. With doctors like Dr. Soman, engineers like Una, friends like Jiho, yes, they could adapt. They could still serve. Would you teach us? Would you show us how? Velmore looked at the Thalorian warriors. His people who had abandoned him, who had declared him dead. Part of him wanted to refuse. But a larger part remembered Jiho's words. About compassion. About helping others even when it was hard. Yes, Velmore said. I will teach you. But you must promise me something. Anything. You must be willing to change. To see strength in new ways. To value warriors not for their bodies, but for their minds and spirits. Can you do that? Krevoth looked at the other Thalorians. They nodded. We can try. Then we have a beginning. Over the next weeks, word of Velmore's victory spread throughout the coalition. Other species began to reconsider their own attitudes toward injured soldiers. The Vryn sent representatives to study human rehabilitation methods. The Kethrans requested Dr. Soman's neural interface designs. Even the gaseous Neferi, who had no concept of physical disability, began to understand that value came in many foe. 3 weeks had passed since the surgery. Velmore sat in his room staring at his hands. He could feel them now. Not like before, but he could feel them. When Dr. Soman sent signals through the neural interface, his fingers twitched. Small movements, but movements nonetheless. It should have made him happy. Instead, he felt hollow. The door chimed. "Come in," Velmore said. Jiho entered carrying a tray of food. He had been coming every day, always with food, always with stories. The human seemed to think that talking would fix everything. "Brought you lunch," Jiho said, setting the tray down. "Dr. Samin says you need to eat more. You're losing weight." "I am not hungry." "Yeah, well, eat anyway." Jiho pulled up a chair and sat down. He looked at Velmore carefully. "Rough day?" Velmore gestured at his body. "Every day is a rough day. I can feel my fingers twitch. I can sometimes move my toes. But I cannot stand, cannot walk, cannot fight. What is the point of any of this? The point is that you're alive. For what purpose?" Velmore's voice rose with frustration. "I was a commander. I led warriors into battle. I was respected, feared. Now I am this thing, unable to even feed myself without help." Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his personal tablet. "Want to hear a story?" "I do not need more of your stories, human." "Too bad. You're getting one anyway." Jiho pulled up an image on the tablet. It showed a man in a wheelchair surrounded by equations. "This is Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest scientists my world ever produced. He had a disease that paralyzed him. He couldn't walk, couldn't even speak without a computer. He was stuck in a wheelchair his whole adult life. Then he was useless," Velmore muttered. "He unlocked the secrets of black holes. He explained how the universe began. He taught thousands of students. He wrote books that changed how we understand reality, all from that wheelchair." Jiho swiped to another image. "This is Franklin Roosevelt, the one I told you about. Led my country through a war. Never stood up once during his entire presidency." Another swipe. "This is Frida Kahlo, an artist. She was in constant pain, could barely move. She painted masterpieces from her bed." Another swipe. "This is John Nash, mathematician. Had a mental illness that made him see things that weren't there. Still won our highest prize for his work." Velmore stared at the images. "These people were all broken?" "They were all different," Jiho corrected. "They couldn't do things the normal way, so they found new ways. They proved that value doesn't come from a perfect body. It comes from what you do with what you have. Thalorians do not think this way. I know. But you're not with the Thalorians anymore, are you?" Jiho put the tablet away. "Look, I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying you won't have bad days. But you're still you. You still have your brain, your experience, your knowledge. That's worth something." Before Velmore could respond, the door opened again. A woman entered, young with kind eyes and a calm expression. She carried a small bag. "Am I interrupting?" she asked. "No, come in," Jiho said. "Velmore, this is Nari. She's a psychologist. She helps soldiers deal with trauma." Velmore looked at her warily. "I do not need a mind healer." "Everyone needs someone to talk to," Nari said gently. She sat down without asking permission. "Captain Jiho, would you mind giving us some privacy?" Jiho stood up. "I'll be right outside if you need me." After he left, Nari pulled out a small notebook. "So, Velmore, how are you feeling?" "I am paralyzed." "How do you think I feel?" "Angry, frustrated." "Scared?" Velmore looked at her sharply. "Thalorians do not feel fear." "That's not true, and you know it." Nari's voice was gentle but firm. "Everyone feels fear. The question is what you do with it." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Velmore spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "I am terrified. I do not know who I am anymore. I was a warrior. That was my identity, my purpose. Now I am nothing. You're not nothing. You're someone going through a massive change. That's scary, but it's not the end. It feels like the end." Nari leaned forward. "Let me ask you something. Before you were a warrior, who were you?" Velmore thought back. I was a child. I studied tactics. I learned weapons. I trained, and before that, I do not understand the question. Before you decided to be a warrior, what did you want to be?" No one had ever asked Velmore that question. He searched his memory, going back to his earliest days. "I wanted to be a teacher," he said slowly. I liked learning about strategy, about history. I wanted to teach others. So teach, I cannot fight. How can I teach warriors if I cannot show them how to fight? Maybe you can teach them something more important than fighting. Over the next few days, Nari visited every day. They talked about identity, about change, about finding purpose beyond physical ability. It was hard. Sometimes Velmore got angry and refused to talk. Other times he broke down, overwhelmed by grief for his old life. But slowly, something began to shift. Una came by on the 5th day with something large covered in cloth. "Close your eyes," she said. "Why?" "Just do it." Velmore closed his eyes. He heard scraping sounds, then Una's voice. "Okay, open them." He opened his eyes and saw a strange device. It looked like a frame made of metal and flexible material. There were straps and joints and small motors. "It's your mobility suit," Una said proudly. "The neural interface sends signals to your muscles. This suit picks up those signals and amplifies them. It turns tiny movements into big ones. Will it work? Only one way to find out. Dr. Soman is going to help us fit it on you tomorrow. If it works, you'll be able to stand. Maybe even walk." That night, Velmore couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the suit, about standing up. Part of him was excited. Part of him was terrified. What if it didn't work? What if he got his hopes up only to be disappointed? The next morning, Dr. Soman and Una arrived early with the suit. It took an hour to fit all the pieces onto Velmore's body. The metal was cool against his skin. The straps felt strange. "The suit connects to your neural interface," Dr. Soman explained. "When your brain sends a signal to move your leg, the suit will help your leg move. It won't feel natural at first. You'll have to learn how to control it." "I understand." "Ready to try standing?" Velmore's heart pounded. He had not stood in a month. Part of him had accepted that he would never stand again. Now, with the suit humming against his skin, he felt something he thought he had lost. Hope. "I am ready." Jiho and Taiyang stood on either side of him, ready to catch him if he fell. Dr. Soman activated the suit. Velmore thought about standing. The neural interface picked up the signal. The suit responded, his legs moved. Not smoothly, not naturally, but they moved. The suit locked into place, supporting his weight. Slowly, shakily, Velmore rose from the chair. He was standing. It didn't feel like it used to. The suit was doing most of the work, and he could feel the motors straining. But he was standing on his own 2 feet. Jiho was grinning. Una had tears in her eyes. Dr. Soman was taking notes, already thinking about improvements. "How does it feel?" Nari asked from the doorway. Velmore looked down at his feet, then up at the ceiling. He was eye level with Jiho now, not looking up from a chair. He felt tall again. Strong again. "It feels like a beginning," he said. Over the next 2 weeks, Velmore learned to walk. It was hard. He fell many times. The suit would malfunction, or he would send the wrong signal, or his muscles would tire too quickly. But each day he got a little better, a little stronger. Jiho brought him more stories about humans who had overcome disabilities. Nari helped him process his feelings about his new life. Una constantly improved the suit, making it lighter and more responsive. Dr. Soman monitored his health and adjusted the neural interface. One day, Velmore walked from his room to the medical bay and back without falling once. It was a small victory, but it felt like winning a battle. "I want to do more," he told Jiho that evening. "I want to be useful again." "What did you have in mind?" "You said I could teach. I want to teach strategy. I want to analyze battles. I want to help the coalition win this war." Jiho smiled. "I'll talk to General Hyun." 2 days later, Velmore stood in a briefing room. Well, stood with the help of his suit. General Hyun was there along with several other officers. They looked skeptical. "Commander Velmore has asked to review our tactical approaches," General Hyun said. "I've agreed to listen." "Commander, the floor is yours." Velmore activated a holographic display. It showed the recent battles against the Krenth. His hand shook as he manipulated the controls, but he managed. "You are making a mistake," he said, his voice clear and strong. "You fight the Krenth like they are a traditional army. They are not. They are a hive mind. You must disrupt their communication, not just their forces." For the next hour, Velmore shared everything he knew about the Krenth. He showed weak points in their formations. He explained their tactics. He proposed new strategies. When he finished, the room was silent. Then General Hyun started clapping. Others joined in. "That was brilliant," the general said. "Commander Velmore, how would you like a position on my staff?" We need someone with your knowledge. Vellamore felt something warm spread through his chest. Pride. Not the pride of a warrior who had killed enemies, but the pride of someone who had contributed something valuable. I would be honored, he said. That night, lying in his bed with the suit powered down beside him, Vellamore thought about everything that had happened. He had lost his old life. His people had abandoned him. Jiho's legs burned with every step. Vellamore was impossibly heavy, and the canyon path was steep and covered with loose rocks. He had been walking for 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. His shoulders ached where Velmore's weight pressed down on them. Behind him, the clicking sounds of the Krenth grew louder. They were hunting, searching through the canyon for any coalition soldiers left behind. Jiho didn't dare look back. He just kept moving forward, one foot in front of the other. Human, stop, Velmore said. You cannot make it. You are too slow. Shut up, Jiho gasped. Saving my breath. I am ordering you to leave me. You're not my commander anymore. You retired, remember? Velmore made a sound that might have been a laugh. Or maybe a cough. You are insane. Been told that before. Jiho reached a narrow section where the path curved around a sharp corner. He had to turn sideways to fit through with Velmore on his shoulders. Crystal walls scraped against them both. His radio crackled with static, but he couldn't reach it to respond. When he cleared the corner, he almost walked right into Yuna. She stood in the middle of the path with her hands on her hips. Taeyang was with her, holding his rifle ready. Both of them looked angry and determined. You didn't go back, Jiho said, too tired to even be surprised. Of course we didn't, you idiot. Yuna snapped. She moved to Velmore's other side. Taeyang helped me get him off Jiho's shoulders. Together they lifted Velmore and repositioned him so that Jiho and Taeyang could carry him between them, each supporting one side. It was easier this way, the weight shared between two people. You disobeyed orders, Jiho said to Taeyang. You gave stupid orders, Taeyang replied. Besides, I'm the squad leader. I'm supposed to make sure my people don't do dumb things alone. Thank you, Velmore said quietly. But this is foolish. All of you will die because of me. Then we die together, Yuna said. She had her scanner out, checking the path ahead. Better than living knowing we left someone behind. Now shut up and let us save you. They moved faster now with the weight shared. Yuna led the way, using her scanner to find the safest path. The canyon walls rose high on either side, blocking out most of the red sunlight. Jiho's arms were numb, but he kept his grip firm on Velmore. A screech echoed through the canyon. The Krenth had found their trail. Move! Taeyang shouted. They ran or tried to. It was more like a fast stumble. Velmore bounced between them, his head hanging down. Yuna sprinted ahead, her scanner beeping frantically. There's a tunnel up ahead, she called back. Old mining shaft. We can hide there. Plasma fire lit up the canyon behind them. The Krenth were shooting blind, but they were getting closer. Jiho could hear their legs scratching against the crystal walls as they climbed and jumped. The tunnel entrance appeared suddenly, a dark hole in the canyon wall. Yuna dove in first, then turned to help pull Velmore inside. Jiho and Taeyang pushed from behind, squeezing the large Thalorian through the narrow opening. They barely made it inside before plasma bursts hit the wall where they had been standing. Inside the tunnel, it was dark and cool. The sounds of the Krenth were muffled by the thick rock walls. Everyone was breathing hard, lying on the tunnel floor in a heap. Is everyone okay? Jiho asked. Define okay, Yuna muttered. She activated a small light stick and soft blue light filled the tunnel. It stretched deeper into the mountain, the walls rough and unmarked. Velmore lay on his back, staring at the ceiling. You should have left me, he said, but his voice had less anger in it now. More sadness? Yeah, well, we're stubborn, Jiho said. He sat up and checked Velmore's pulse. Still strong. How are you feeling? I feel nothing, as I told you. My body is dead from the neck down. Your body isn't dead. It's injured. There's a difference, Taeyang was checking his rifle. We can't stay here long. The Krenth will search this tunnel eventually. The tunnel goes deep, Yuna said, studying her scanner. It connects to the old mining network. If we follow it, we can come out near the coalition base. It's a long walk, though, maybe 3 hours. Can we make it carrying him? Taeyang asked. Jiho looked at Velmore, then at his friends. 3 hours of carrying someone who couldn't help at all, through dark tunnels with enemies possibly behind them. It seemed impossible. We don't have a choice, Jiho said. We started this rescue. We're going to finish it. Yuna nodded and pulled out her tools. Give me 5 minutes. I can rig up something to make this easier. She worked quickly, using straps from their gear and a piece of flexible metal from the tunnel wall. When she was done, she had created a simple stretcher. It wouldn't be comfortable, but it would let them drag Velmor instead of carrying his full weight. Human ingenuity, Velmor said, watching her work. I have heard stories about it. You can make something from nothing. We adapt, Yuna said simply. It's what we're good at. They loaded Velmor onto the stretcher and started moving deeper into the tunnel. Jiho and Taeyang pulled the stretcher while Yuna walked ahead with her light and scanner. The tunnel twisted and turned, sometimes going up, sometimes down. The air was stale and smelled of old minerals. After an hour, they stopped to rest. Jiho's arms felt like rubber. He sat against the tunnel wall and drank from his water bottle. Taeyang shared his rations with Yuna. Velmor had been quiet during the walk. Now he spoke. Why? He asked. Why do you do this? You do not know me. I am not even your species. Jiho thought about the question. It was a good question. He had asked himself the same thing back in the canyon. Where I come from, Jiho said slowly, we have a saying. We are all we've got. It means that in the worst times, all we have is each other. It doesn't matter what you look like or where you're from. If you're in trouble, we help. That's just what we do. Even if it costs you your life? Even then, Velmor was quiet for a moment. Thalorians believe that strength is everything. A warrior who cannot fight has no purpose. It is better to die with honor than live in shame. That's one way to see it, Jiho said. But humans believe something different. We believe everyone has value, even if they can't fight. Especially if they can't fight. What value do I have now? Velmor's voice was bitter. I cannot walk. Cannot hold a weapon. I am nothing. You're alive, Jiho said firmly. That's not nothing. You have a brain full of knowledge and experience. You can still think, still plan, still teach. Maybe you can't fight the same way you did before, but that doesn't mean you're useless. My people will not see it that way. Then your people are wrong, Yuna said bluntly. No offense. Velmor made that sound again, the one that might have been a laugh. You humans are strange. Rude, but kind. We try, Taeyang said. He stood up and stretched. Ready to move again? They continued through the tunnels. Time lost meaning in the darkness. Jiho's legs moved automatically, one step after another. His mind wandered. He thought about home, about his family. His mother would have liked Velmor, he thought. She always said that honor came in many forms. Finally, after what felt like forever, Yuna stopped. I see light ahead. She was right. Far down the tunnel, there was a faint glow. Daylight. The exit. They moved faster now, energy returning with hope. The tunnel opened onto a hillside overlooking the coalition base. Below them, they could see ships and soldiers, the organized chaos of a military camp. They had made it, Jiho to base, Jiho said into his radio. 3 humans and 1 injured Thalorian requesting medical extraction. The radio crackled. Jiho, we thought you were dead. Extraction team on the way. 10 minutes later, a medical transport landed near them. Human medics jumped out with a stretcher. They looked surprised when they saw Velmor, but they didn't hesitate. They loaded him onto their medical stretcher with practiced efficiency. As they lifted Velmor into the transport, he looked at Jiho. Their eyes met. Jiho saw something in the Thalorian's eyes that hadn't been there before. Not quite hope, but maybe the beginning of it. Thank you, Velmor said quietly. I do not understand you, but thank you. Jiho smiled, too tired to do much else. Don't thank me yet. Now comes the hard part. What hard part? Convincing everyone else that saving you was the right thing to do. The transport lifted off, carrying them toward the base. Jiho looked at Yuna and Taeyang. They were dirty, exhausted, and probably in big trouble. But they were smiling. They had done the impossible. They had saved someone everyone else had left behind. Now they just had to deal with the consequences. The canyon walls glowed red under the light of Velcor Prime's twin suns. Captain Jiho pressed his back against the crystalline rock as plasma fire screamed overhead. His rifle felt heavy in his hands, but he kept firing at the dark shapes moving through the smoke. The Krenth were everywhere, their insect-like bodies clicking and chittering as they advanced. Fall back, someone shouted over the radio. All units fall back to the ridge. Jiho glanced at his squad. 3 humans, 2 Vryn soldiers with their mantis-like arms, and 1 massive Thalorian warrior. The Thalorian, Commander Velmor, stood nearly 8 feet tall. His purple skin gleamed with sweat as he fired his heavy cannon into the enemy lines. Velmor was a legend among the Coalition forces. He had fought in 30 battles and never retreated once. "We need to move," Jiho yelled. "Now!" Velmor nodded and took one step backward. Then the world exploded. A Krenth plasma burst hit the rock wall above them. The explosion sent chunks of crystal raining down. Jiho dove to the side, covering his head. When he looked up, his ears were ringing. Smoke filled the canyon. He coughed and tried to stand. "Sound off," he called to his squad. "Everyone okay? Here." Yuna, his engineer friend, answered from somewhere to his left. "Alive." That was Taeyang, their squad leader. The Vryn soldiers clicked their response. But Velmor said nothing. Jiho crawled through the smoke, his heart pounding. He found the Thalorian warrior lying on his back. A massive piece of crystal had struck him across the spine. Velmor's eyes were open, staring at the red sky. His chest moved up and down, so he was breathing. But he wasn't moving anything else. "Velmor." Jiho reached him and checked for wounds. No blood. But when he touched the warrior's leg, Velmor didn't react. "Can you feel this?" "No." Velmor's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "I feel nothing below my neck." "The stone, it broke my spine." Jiho's stomach dropped. He had seen injuries like this before. He was a combat medic, trained to handle wounds on the battlefield. But spinal injuries were different, especially for aliens. He didn't know if Thalorian spines could heal like human ones could. "Okay, we're going to get you out of here," Jiho said. He activated his radio. "Taeyang, I need help. Velmor is down." Taeyang appeared through the smoke with Yuna right behind him. They both stared at the fallen warrior. More Thalorians arrived, drawn by the news that their commander was wounded. They formed a circle around Velmor, their faces unreadable. One of them, a warrior named Krevoth, knelt beside Velmor.
"Commander, can you stand?"
"No," Velmor said. "I cannot move. My body will not obey me." The Thalorians looked at each other. Something passed between them, something Jiho didn't understand. Krevoth stood up and placed his fist over his heart in a salute. "Then you have fought well, Commander," Krevoth said. "Your death will be honored." "Wait, what?" Jiho stood up. "He's not dead. We can carry him out." Krevoth turned to Jiho. His face was sad but firm. "A Thalorian warrior who cannot fight cannot live. It is our way. Commander Velmor will stay here and face the enemy with honor. He will die as a warrior should. That's insane." Jiho looked at the other Thalorians. "You're just going to leave him here?" "It is what he would want," another Thalorian said. "What he deserves." Jiho looked down at Velmor. The warrior's eyes were closed now. His face showed no emotion, but Jiho could see his jaw was clenched tight. "Is this what you want?" Jiho asked him directly. Velmor was silent for a long moment. "It is our way," he finally said. The Thalorians began to leave, heading back toward the ridge where the rest of the Coalition forces were retreating. Jiho watched them go, his mind racing. This was wrong. Everything in him screamed that this was wrong. Yuna touched his arm. "Jiho, we have to go. The Krenth are coming. We can't just leave him." "It's their culture," Taeyang said quietly. "We have to respect it." Jiho looked at his squad leader. Taeyang was a good man, someone Jiho trusted, but right now he wanted to punch him. "In human culture, we don't leave people behind," Jiho said. "Especially not to die alone." The radio crackled. "All units, final warning. Enemy forces closing in. Evacuate immediately." Yuna pulled on Jiho's arm. "Please, we have to go." Jiho looked at Velmor one more time. The warrior lay there alone on the canyon floor. His eyes were open again, staring at the sky. Waiting for death. "Go," Jiho said to his squad. "I'll catch up." "What?" Yuna stared at him. "Jiho, no." "That's an order, Captain?" Taeyang asked. "I'm staying," Jiho said firmly. "You all get back to base. Tell them I'll be right behind you." Taeyang studied his face for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "You have 10 minutes. Then this whole canyon is going to be crawling with Krenth." "Understood." Yuna looked like she wanted to argue, but Taeyang pulled her away. "Come on, we need to trust him." Jiho waited until they disappeared into the smoke. Then he knelt beside Velmor again. "What are you doing, human?" Velmor asked. His voice was stronger now, angry. "Leave me. This is not your concern." "Maybe not," Jiho said. He started checking Velmor's armor, looking for clasps and straps. "But I'm not leaving you here. I am paralyzed. I am useless. I am no longer a warrior." Jiho found the release for Velmor's chest plate and removed it. The armor was heavy, but he needed to lighten the load if he was going to carry him. You know what we say in the human military? No one gets left behind. I don't care if you can walk or not. You're still a person. You're still worth saving. You do not understand our ways. Maybe I don't. Jiho removed more armor pieces, working quickly. In the distance, he could hear the clicking of Krenth forces getting closer. But I understand mine, and my way says everyone deserves a chance to live. Velmore was quiet. Jiho could feel the warrior's eyes on him as he worked. This will anger my people, Velmore said. Probably. They will see it as disrespectful. I can live with that. Jiho finished removing the armor. He grabbed Velmore under the arms and started to pull. The Thalorian was heavy even without his armor. Jiho's boots slipped on the crystal ground. You're going to have to help me out here. Can you use your arms at all? No, nothing moves. Okay, plan B then. Jiho repositioned himself and lifted Velmore onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry. His knees almost buckled under the weight, but he managed to stay standing. We're going to take this slow. You are a fool, human. Jiho started walking toward the ridge, each step careful and deliberate. Sweat poured down his face. His muscles screamed in protest. Behind them, the sounds of the Krenth grew louder. Yeah, Jiho said, breathing hard. Probably. But at least I'm a fool who keeps his promises. What promise? The one I made when I became a soldier, Jiho said. To never leave a brother behind. And right now, whether you like it or not, you're my brother. Velmore said nothing, but as Jiho carried him through the smoke and fire, he thought he felt the warrior's body relax just a little. They had a long way to go, and the enemy was closing in. But Jiho had made his choice. He would save Velmore or die trying. That was the human way.